My guess is that probably saves $100 billion a year.
Jesus Christ.
That's,
Where was that money going?
Rough order of magnitude.
Where was that money going?
Well, so this is where you get into the sort of gray boundary between waste and fraud. If money is sent to a person or organization from the government, and you didn't really deserve it, but the government still sent it to you, is that waste or fraud?
Right.
So, I mean, there's a lot of payments where someone just approved the payment, but then that payment officer changed jobs or retired or died, and the payments just keep going. It's like if you forget to pay your gym membership or something like that.
Right.
Now imagine it's not the gym membership. He said your gym membership's $20 billion a year or something, but they forgot to turn it off. That's happening at scale in the government.
Jesus
it's totally
Christ,
nuts, is what I'm saying.
So insane.
Well, dang, man. Yeah, the whole situation is mind-boggling. It's crazy that money, potentially billions, is just slipping through the cracks like that. This is exactly what happens when you have an out-of-control government that's running on autopilot. I mean, think about it. Billions of taxpayer dollars just wasted, not because they're being spent on necessary programs, but because no one can be bothered to make sure that payments are even being tracked. You've got people retiring, switching jobs, or just outright disappearing, and guess what happens? The payments don't stop. It's like a subscription you forgot to cancel, but instead of $20 a month, it's billions of taxpayer dollars every year. What's really mind-blowing here is that this is just the tip of the iceberg. We've had a government so inept that wasting money seems to be part of the system, and the idea that no one is doing anything to fix it is insane. The solution's so simple. Just make the payment categorization mandatory. But no, we're stuck in a system where fraud and waste are not only accepted, but completely ignored. And there is a lot more here. Just listen.
So if I were to say, what's at the heart of the sort of, why is the Democrat propaganda machine so fired up to destroy me? That's the main reason. The main reason is that entitlements fraud, that includes Social Security, disability, Medicaid, entitlements fraud for illegal aliens is what is serving as a gigantic magnetic force to pull people in from all around the world and keep them here. Basically, if you pay people at a standard of living that is above 90% of Earth, then you have a very powerful incentive for 90% of Earth to come here and to stay here. But if you end the illegal alien fraud, then you turn off that magnet, and they leave, and they stop coming, and the ones that are here, many of them will simply leave. And if that happens, they will lose a massive number of Democratic voters.
And if it didn't happen, they would turn those people into voters.
Correct.
Which they were trying to do.
They're already turning them. So in New York State, illegal aliens can already vote in state and city elections. A lot of people don't know that. They're trying to fight that, they're trying to stop that, but currently I think it's 600,000 are registered to vote, illegal aliens in New York.
That is wild.
Yeah. Well, if you look at, say, FEMA, the agency that was paying for illegal aliens to stay at luxury hotels in New York was FEMA. That's an agency that's meant to support Americans in distress from natural disasters, was paying for luxury hotels for illegals in New York.
It's true. Yeah.
There's a fact.
Fact.
They're literally, when we stopped that payment, we stopped all those money, because that's obviously an insane way to spend taxpayer money. New York sued the federal government to get the money. So you can just look at their lawsuit. They were sending that money even after President Trump signed an executive order saying it needs to stop. They still press send on $80 million to luxury hotels in New York. Your tax money went to pay for illegal aliens in luxury hotels in New York from an agency that is meant to help Americans in distress from natural disasters.
Right, and I would like to
That's
know
fucked
how
up.
much, and I would like to know how much they spent on North Carolina and how much they spent on Maui.
Yes, exactly. What's actually happening is they're buying voters. That's really what's happening. It's like a giant voter fraud scam. They're importing voters, and it's really just a matter of time. So, if a lot of people have trouble believing this, but the more you look at it, the more you will realize just how much of a problem this is, and how it's not just real. It is an attempt to destroy democracy in America. That's what, in my view, it is what it really is. Like, if you take the sort of 7 swing states, like, often the margin of victory there is like maybe 20,000 votes. If you put 200,000 illegals in there, and they have like a 80% likelihood of voting Dem, and it's only a matter of time before they become citizens, then those swing states will not be swing states in the future. And if they are not swing states, we'll be a permanent one-party state country. Permanent, deep blue socialist state. That's what America will become.
And that was the game plan.
That was the game plan. That is still the game plan.
And so
they almost succeeded. If the machine of which the Kamala puppet was the representation had won, that's what would have happened. The reason I went so hardcore for Trump was because, to me, this was a fork in the road, a very obvious fork in the road. If they had another 4 years, they would legalize enough illegals in the swing states to make the swing states not swing states. They would be blue states. Then they would win the presidential. They'd win the House, the Senate, and the presidency. They would then make district, D.C. into a state. Maybe Puerto Rico, get 4 extra senators, pack the Supreme Court. So then you'll have the House, Judiciary, Senate, and presidency, all blue. And then they will keep importing more illegals to cement that outcome. Basically what happened in California.
Jesus Christ.
It would have been the end.
Elon Musk is absolutely right when he says that the attacks on him are no coincidence. It's not because he's lying or spreading fake news. No, it's because he's exposing the truth. And that's what scares the establishment. Every time Musk uncovers another layer of fraud and corruption, they can't seem to address the actual issue. Instead, they resort to name-calling, labeling him as an unelected fascist. Why? Because they know he's shining a light on things they'd rather keep hidden. Take voter ID laws, for instance. The Biden administration and left-wing politicians have spent years calling voter ID laws racist or unnecessary, but at the same time, they've been pushing policies that make it easier for illegal aliens to get driver's licenses, which, surprise, are then used as voter identification in states like California. It's almost like they're trying to replace American citizens with a dependent underclass, one that's tied to their political machine. But here's the thing. They have already flooded many swing states with illegal immigrants, provided them a path to the ballot box, and we have seen this firsthand when we witness them then turn around and scream racism when anyone dares question it. It's a clear incentive program designed to secure a permanent loyal base, and Elon Musk is right to call it out. In fact, Musk has suggested that benefits are being funneled to illegal migrants, making it even more enticing for them to cross the border and participate in this system. This brings to mind an old whistleblower account from Arizona, where it was claimed that 1,0,0,0,0 people were using the same social security number. So, you bring in an illegal immigrant, give them a social security number, and suddenly they're qualified for benefits, employment, and even voting.
We discovered 10,000 people using the exact social security number. You take an illegal, you bring them in. They sign a piece of paper promising to pay taxes. What they get is a social security number. So the employers can take out the taxes. Put a pin in that. Here's what they do. In cities like this, let's think of a chicken processor. They will bring in hundreds of illegals. They will spread them out across all of these plants and factories, giving them jobs. They're all using the same social security number. The IRS unconnected our names from the social security number. Now when you look it up, it just pings to see if there's an employer. If there is, it says it's good, it validates it. Why do they do that? Because all of these factories are giving them social security numbers. The government turns its back on it. As soon as you have a social security number and you go over to motor voter, pass the driver's test, right? You get a driver's license. The person looks, you got a social, you must be a citizen. By the way, those guys don't pay taxes anyway. It's taken out by companies. Our government's been sitting on $1.7 trillion slush fund that one fund has still in it to this day.
Now, this could just be a whistleblower claim, but it aligns closely with what Elon Musk has been suggesting, that there's a system being set up to encourage illegal immigration, essentially creating an incentive program for people to come into the U.S. under the guise of temporary work status. These individuals might not have full legal recognition, but they're assigned social security numbers and, of course, provided with a range of benefits. It's a system that serves corporations eager for cheap labor, all while helping build a dependent underclass that could later be granted amnesty or the right to vote. In doing so, the Democrats could secure a much larger, loyal voting base. Now, of course, the left will call this preposterous, but it's hard to ignore the past actions we've seen. Every Democrat candidate during the primary stage was asked if they would provide taxpayer-funded health care to undocumented immigrants, and they all raised their hands. And let's not forget California, where illegal immigrants have access to numerous benefits, including health care. The claim that illegal immigrants aren't receiving taxpayer-funded benefits is completely absurd, especially when you consider the FEMA revelations and even articles like this that come out often. Illinois, under Governor J.B. Pritzker, launched a state-funded health insurance program for immigrants without proper fiscal projections, and surprise, it's costing taxpayers way more than anticipated. A lot more. We're talking $1.6 billion, and that number only keeps growing. And what's the excuse here? Poor estimates based on little experiential data? Really? You're telling me that the government, which constantly talks about how it can solve all of our problems, failed to even get the numbers right on this? It's almost like they don't care about the long-term costs because it's all about playing to their base. What's even worse is that not only are they blowing through the budget, but the program is also a mess of bureaucratic failure. Duplicate enrollments, people enrolled who don't qualify, or people who are eligible for other programs like Medicaid. How do you mess that up? You can't even blame it all on being understaffed or miscommunication when this is the third year running and the same issues are still unresolved. For years, Democrats denied this, but it turns out disaster relief funds meant for legitimate United States citizens were being used to provide benefits to undocumented migrants. It looks suspiciously like a taxpayer-funded program designed to import future Democrat voters and a cheap, loyal underclass workforce that large corporations depend on. While this is still unconfirmed, the source behind it is credible, someone auditing the government right now, and if true, this could be the biggest corruption scandal Washington has seen in years. Now, when we start putting all these pieces together, even a first grader can see the plan here. The Biden administration has intentionally left the borders open, claiming they're doing it for the sake of providing opportunity to the less fortunate and to help people live the American dream. But let's be real. This is not about that. What they're really doing is undermining the security of this country and flooding it with people who, in exchange for their help, will vote for the same party, handing them entitlements at the expense of hardworking American taxpayers. Trump has been spot on in calling out this corrupt system for years. He knew that unchecked immigration, especially with open borders, would lead to crime, job losses for Americans, and a strained social safety net. But the Democrats don't care. They've backed open borders because it serves their political interests and enriches the elites they're in bed with. Meanwhile, Trump's America First agenda was all about protecting American citizens, putting us first, and securing our borders. And look at how desperate the left is to silence him, because they know he's the one exposing the truth behind all of this. This is the real reason they've been attacking Trump so viciously for a decade, and anyone who supports him, like Elon, he's calling out the swamp for what it is. A system designed to undermine the American people and replace them with a loyal underclass. The whistleblower's claim about illegal migrant benefits aligns perfectly with this bigger plan. As more and more information comes out, it's becoming impossible to ignore this scheme to manipulate the system, and it's happening right in front of us. Well, that's all I got here. Make sure to subscribe for more videos, and we'll see you in the next one.